Can't have Christmas dinner without potatoes, especially roast potatoes. And if you've never cooked Christmas dinner before or had much experience in cooking potatoes, here are my 3 festive tips and tricks for beginners on cooking potatoes. There are over 5,000 varieties of potatoes out there. I'm only using 3. Today I've got the King Edwards on the left, and they're going to be used for the roast potatoes. On the middle I have the Red Roosters, and they're perfect for mash. Good all-round potato that can also be used for roasties. And then on the side I've got some baby potatoes, and they're going to be perfect for my lioness. So we're starting off with the mashed potato and the roosters. We're going to peel them, quarter them. Obviously that depends on the size of them, but we want to make sure they're all cut to the same size so they cook evenly. We're then going to fill them with water, but literally just cover them and no more. That way they cook nice and quick. Also, when they come to the boil, that's when you start a timer for 20 minutes. When they're ready, there should be no resistance whatsoever. If there is, just give them that a little bit longer because you want them to be completely soft but not overcooked. Then we're going to drain them off and let them dry out for a minute or so. That way the mashed potato when we make it isn't too wet. Now you can use a potato masher or a ricer. I like to do my mash in a food mixer. It just gives this really great fluffy mash. Brilliant results every single time. So we're going to put in a good bit of butter. Mashed potato loves butter, loves salt, and then a splash of milk. Once that's had a couple of minutes mixing, we're going to taste it for seasoning. And then if it needs any more butter or milk or salt, we can add that in. If you want, you can pass the mash through a sieve. Who's got time for that? Let's be honest, it's not worth it. So once it's ready, into a bowl and it's ready to be served. Moving on to the roast potatoes, we're using the King Edwards, and the same as the mash, just going to peel them, quarter them, make sure they're all the same size, that way they cook evenly. Good pinch of salt, and then just cover them with water, no more, otherwise it'll just take forever to cook. Once that water comes to a boil, put a timer on for 9 minutes. Now you're not looking for them to be cooked all the way to the core, you're just looking to soften up the edges. While that's happening, we're going to put some goose fat or duck fat on a tray and stick that into a preheated oven at 200 degrees. And what that's going to do is it's going to help to get a nice crispy outer shell of the potatoes as soon as they go in. This next step is the most important part. Rough them up in the colander, give them a little dry out, break up those edges. That way all the fat gets into the potato, crispens up the outside and just makes the best potatoes. The fat on this tray is super hot, so be very, very careful at this point. I'm going to put it on the counter, and now I am going to tip them in, but you can see it splashes, which is kind of dangerous, so don't do that. Learn from my mistakes and just use a spoon or tongs to transfer them from colander to tray. Once I've given a wee mix around, I'm adding in some garlic and some thyme, and again mixing them around in that fat. You want to make sure that every potato has completely covered in the fat, that way it maximises the flavour and you get the best results. The roast potatoes will take roughly 45 to 50 minutes to cook. I'm going to take them out every 10-15 minutes or so and just give them a turn over so they get an even cook. So you can see there that they're starting to get a nice colour around them, but they're not quite ready. We want to get an even golden brown colour all the way over. Once you're happy with the colour, bring them out and plate them up. The garlic will have soaked up all those flavours from the roasting tray, so don't throw that out. Have it with the potatoes, bit of finishing salt, and ready to serve. We're now moving on to the lioness potatoes, and I'm using a certain shop's finest baby potato range. I'm just going to cut them in half, then into a pot of boiling salted water and cook them until they're soft all the way through. While the potatoes are cooking, I'm going to slice up 2 white onions and I'm going to saute them off in a pan on a medium to low heat. Once they've had a couple of minutes of cooking, I'm going to add in some garlic. So on a medium to low heat, I'm going to add in a good glug of oil and then get those onions in there. I'm going to add in a little bit of salt and pepper and then cook for a couple of minutes. Once the potatoes are cooked all the way through and they're nice and soft, we're going to drain them into a colander and I'm just going to let them sit in the colander for a couple of minutes, let that steam dry them out. You can let them cool all the way down, that's absolutely fine as well. Once the onions have browned, I'm going to add in my garlic, give that a couple of minutes to cook, and then I'm going to take the onions off and put them to the side. Once the onions are out, we're going to add a good glug of oil, let the pan come back up to temperature and put the potatoes in cut side down to get a nice even gold colour. Once we're happy with the colour, we're going to add our onions back in, give them a good mix around and then add in a handful of chopped parsley. As soon as that parsley's in, they're good to serve. If you leave them too long, the parsley will start to discolour. And there we have our potatoes lioness. Thanks for watching my Christmas tips, tricks and ideas series. Those are the 3 easy options for cooking potatoes for beginners. So if you're tasked with cooking potatoes for Christmas dinner, give one of those a go. So if you liked this video and you learned something, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're not already. And I'll see you in the next one.